no secret. It's plain to see. I love you, and you love me. It's no secret. You know it's true. You love me. I love you. The only time we seem to meet is in the middle of the night. Only then can I feel your heartbeat. Till something's not right. Together I see you and me, always and all time. But not everyone would agree. To them it's a crime. It's no secret.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to your next stop live. I'm so excited to have my next guest, Monty Lands. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
I did. I always get, every time I have to say someone's name, I always get like, oh, am I going to say it wrong? And so I did. I always practiced before, right? So Monty, welcome to Fireside and welcome to your next stop live. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. Definitely an absolute pleasure. I love being invited on to, new spaces to just connect, share great vibes, share some value, have some fun. So it means a lot to me. I appreciate you.
I love it. And I have to say, because I always tell my listeners and followers that where I meet people, because everyone's always curious. So like, how do you meet so many different people? Where is it? I actually found you on IG. Your reels popped up and I was like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. And then I was like dying laughing. And then I was like, oh wait, there's a purpose behind this. And I need to have him on the podcast. And then of course, anyone that knows and listens, my son's name is Montgomery Monty. And so I was like,
hey.
Right? I totally need. So I know people are going to be in and out of this room. I've had people texting being like, I can't jump on right now. I'm going to listen to the replay or I'm jumping on, but there's tons of people on right now. LinkedIn, we have a lot of people. Hey, LinkedIn people. And then we have YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. So welcome. This is going to be fun because it's a story, but then also what you're teaching for social media, I think is also really fun for people to hear. So anyone that's in this room right now, if you guys want to broadcast or share with your followers here, you just click the two little lines down at the bottom and you can do broadcast to the world. You can share with your followers and then people can get listening. And if you guys are watching the replay, do the same. You know what to do. So we're going to get into this. So Monty is a social media strategist. He's got his own company. He also coaches and does one-on-one trainings and all the good stuff. So can you give us a little background though of who you are, kind of where you grew up, and then we'll get into the meat of this.
Yeah, definitely. Again, appreciate you having me. My name is Monty, and I am like you said, Juliet, social media strategist, coach. I started my company, Move Makers Consulting, 2 years ago. During the pandemic, in the heat of the pandemic, it's like, who the heck starts a business during a pandemic? But, I had to because I was doing renewable energy consulting. I was a solar, like a residential solar agent. So basically helping homeowners qualify for solar panels so they can save money on their electricity and be a little bit more environmentally sound. And it was going well, but when the pandemic hit and we weren't allowed to make face-to-face contact, there's a lot of steps within the whole going solar process that require face-to-face communication and stuff like that. So the company I was with kind of shut things down. And I was like, man, I need to find a way to make some money. So, I was living off the government, getting that government cheese for a little while, a little unemployment here and there. And then I was like, you know what, I got way too much, pride, number one, but, I got way too many gifts and abilities to just sit here and not do something for myself. And the truth is, which I'm sure a lot of people who are listening in can probably relate, is I am the type of person that doesn't do well with jobs. I don't have anything against people working a job. I think it's a great fit for a lot of people. I know that there's plenty of people out there that love what they do. They love working a job. They don't mind having a boss or a manager kind of telling them what to do or whatever the case is. It just never worked well for me. Every job I had, I either quit or I got fired. All right. For the reasons that are between me and myself. Anyways, but the point is, I wasn't the best employee, but I knew that, if I could find a way to do things on my own terms, I can create an income, create wealth, I can find happiness. And the pandemic really forced myself, as well as I'm sure so many other people, especially people who are listening here now, to really think deeply and seriously about what they want their life to be, where their life is at, where they want their life to go, and, what they truly want to be doing. And I'm like, if we can play by the rules, do everything right, and still end up in this situation where everything is pulled away from us at the blink of an eye, unexpectedly, we might as well start doing more of what we actually love. You know what I mean? And that's what I was thinking for myself. So I was like, okay, what can I do that I love, that I'm gifted at, that I can not only make money from, but also make money by helping people, using my gifts, using my talents. And I thought about social media. I was just sitting down, having a conversation, me, my fiance, and just God, just looking down on me, listening to me, letting me talk to him. And I was like, what am I good at? Like, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? What's something that could be beneficial to people right here, right now? And then the whole idea of becoming a coach and starting a company around, social media consulting and stuff like that came to mind because prior to the pandemic, my fiance and I we've been micro influencers in the food and lifestyle space for about 5 years now. And it was about 3 years at the time. And I was like, well, we've been able to gain and build a community of over 10,000 followers. We've been able to, make thousands of dollars doing like brand partnerships and collaborations. We've been able to eat tens of thousands of dollars of free food over the past few years just from like what we built. And I was like, I think this is the perfect time to teach other people. Thanks for the claps. That's cool. Been able to teach other people. I can teach other people how to do the same thing because the pandemic is shutting down face-to-face contact. Businesses like physical businesses are closing down, and it's forcing people to have to shift to the digital space to actually start a new income stream, continue the income stream that they have, or expand on what they've done. So this is a good time to teach people how to use social media platforms like Instagram to actually build a brand and be self-sustainable regardless of where the economy is at, for the most part. So Move Makers Consulting came to mind. I think that night, it was like 8:00 at night. I remember I was like, let me create a presentation. So for about 8 hours, 9 hours straight, I was making my first like presentation on like how to teach people how to use social media. And when it was all said and done, I had something like a quick mock-up or a draft of what I wanted to do. And I just started hitting up some friends, like that could give me constructive feedback if I sucked right. and could praise me if I did well, and who were actually willing to pay me something, for my time and my effort. So I found some friends that, did want to do some things with social media, but didn't know how. And they had watched my journey, my fiance and my journey, like building up our brand with our influencer page. And they were like, yeah, like I want to know. So I was just, doing like $100 coaching sessions, $200 coaching sessions, something small.
Right.
And the feedback I got was really encouraging. So I was like, all right, I think I found my lane. I think this is the answer. And I just started building it from there. And here we are now, a couple years later, and doing what I'm doing now.
I love it. And I know when we briefly, my listeners always know that I don't like to know too much of the story because I love to hear it kind of unfold. And so many people can relate. Don't worry. So many people can relate because the pandemic made a lot of us have to rethink. It didn't matter, yes. Right? Especially if your business was where it shut down. I mean, so many people. And as I loved what you said, it was kind of like, okay, I knew I needed help, but then I wanted to build something. Yeah. So when we were talking kind of behind the scenes in the green room, anyone that's in the audience knows what that is, but you brought up Clubhouse, and that's where I first, I had started my podcast in 2019. Clubhouse kind of came about because I was like, you know what, I'm really good at this. I need to learn more. I don't know podcasting. I don't know podcasters. I had kind of YouTubed and figured out how to even start doing it because I'm curious. And I was like, this feels good. This feels like this is the right path for me. And when we are and as you said, like God, I believe in God, whether you believe in the universe or God, we all have a path. And I really believe we all have a path. We don't always find it. Sometimes God has to really scream at us to make us be like, nope, you're on the wrong path. But sometimes it kind of just flows. So give us a little bit about like when you got on Clubhouse, where that then was able to catapult your business. And I love that you guys already had the kind of the branding thing and you really asked those questions to yourself. Like, okay, how can I make this bigger? So take us, through that a little bit.
Clubhouse was a major game changer just for the trajectory of my business. Because again, running a business in this fashion was completely different than anything I've ever done. I've done network marketing in the past. I was in network marketing for about 7 years. So I had an idea of like how to build a team and like how to like do presentations, sell products, stuff like that. But this is just a completely different nature, right? Just the world of social media. There's so many different directions to go in. There's so many different niches and industries that you can help people within. And again, that idea of like building a community and doing it strategically and, really being able to focus in on what I want my brand to represent, all that stuff that I was thinking of and exactly what am I going to coach people on? Because that has to be consistent too, right? You can't teach one thing over here and then randomly teach something over here. You don't want to confuse your audience. So Clubhouse really helped me with growing a community strategically because, you host rooms on Clubhouse and there's opportunities to network. And I had been getting hit up by a bunch of friends and, associates with invites to join Clubhouse. And for so many of them, I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. And then some people were like, a couple people called me and I was like, yo, have you heard of Clubhouse? You should do this, that, whatever. You should get on it. I'll send you an invite. It started to feel like I was being sold. And I was like, wait a minute. Are you getting some commission from this phone call?
Right.
I was like, what's going on here? And I just, I let other things get in the way. I didn't prioritize it. But then I think it was around November, December of 2020 when one of my best friends, he's like a brother to me. Blood wouldn't make us any closer. He reached out to me. And he was like, yo, bro, have you ever heard of Clubhouse? And I was like, no. He was like, I'm on it. And he said, bro, you are one person. If I could only choose one person in my contact list that belongs on Clubhouse, that would thrive on Clubhouse, it's you. And obviously coming from somebody that has that level of credibility and trust and relationship with me, I was like, all right, I'll do it. And then he was like, listen, I'm going to send you an invite. He said, I've been going to a couple different rooms that are talking about business, talking about networking. He was like, I'll send you an invite whenever we do these rooms or whenever I'm in these rooms. And I was like, all right, cool. Sounds good. So he sent me the invite. I joined Clubhouse and then he sent me the first invitation for a room that he was in. And it was chaos. Like it was just, I saw like 400 or 500 people in the room, mute your mics. Like everybody talking. But then when it kind of settled down and I noticed that they actually had a structure for like, giving people 10, 15 seconds to introduce themselves. I was like, okay, this is cool. So literally I would be on Clubhouse waiting 4, 5, or 6 hours to have 10 to 15 seconds to introduce who I am and what I do and do it well enough to make people want to follow me on Instagram and inquire about my business. So imagine doing that for a few weeks. And then eventually my friend and I got tired of spending that much time waiting on the back seat for our turn. And we was like, yo, let's just start our own club on Clubhouse focused on what we want to do. So we started Digital Hustler Dynasty is focused on helping people that want to build a brand or succeed in the digital space, whether it's, social media, YouTube, Facebook, whatever they wanted to do. We just want to bring a whole community together. And slowly but surely, we started figuring out a system, figuring out different types of rooms for each day of the week. And we built up a massive reputation, a good reputation on there because of the way we did things. And I gained thousands of followers just off of Clubhouse alone. And I did my first workshop on Zoom because of Clubhouse. I did my first webinar on Zoom, like group coaching because of Clubhouse. I started figuring out different systems and it started working out, and I take what I learned from Clubhouse in terms of communication, relationship building, business, marketing, and structure. And I still apply a lot of those principles, if not all those principles today. And it's helped me out a lot.
Yeah, no, and it was so interesting. I remember when I had friends do the same thing. They're like, you got to get on this Clubhouse, you got to get in this Clubhouse. And because I had just, really had started the podcast about probably 6 months before. And I was like, all right. But then I was on a waiting list and I was like, well, I want to go on now. And I had to like wait. And I was like, oh, this is killer now. Like it was so crazy. And then I remember it was the same thing. I went all to the podcast rooms and I became one of the Club Pod members. And then I started running rooms for Club Pod. And then I was like, wait, I can run my own rooms. Where do I want to see this go? And then that's when during the pandemic is when I really started reaching out to people about like, hey, what does a pandemic look like in other parts of the country? And that's when I started interviewing. And that's when my podcast really took off because I was like, wait, I'm really good at this. This is so interesting. And that's in the beginning, probably where I got most of my guests. I mean, I was like booked for a year. I mean, I think that summer, the first summer, I had to take off because I had so many recordings. I was recording like 5 times a day. I was recording 5 times a week. I had so many episodes, but then it became the problem was, and all the podcasters in the audience right now are laughing because then I was like, oh shit, your episode's not going to go out for like 5 months.
Right.
Okay, I got to figure. And then I was like, okay, wait, now I can do 2 episodes a month. But then I was paying an editor because I didn't want to edit. So then I was like, okay, this is going up more. Yeah. Now I need to find out, like I was making, I did some health and fitness coaching, which I still do a little bit of, and running that kind of stuff. So that's where I would take that money and fund it back into the podcast. And so that's what I kept doing. But it was really interesting to learn about, just businesses on there. I mean, I think I rebranded my podcast when I was on Clubhouse. And again, you're right. Like I built a pretty quick community that was cool and reputation for podcasting, even though I had just started my podcast. But then I really got good and kind of honed in my skills through kind of the working there in the podcasting world. And I created a workshop and all of that kind of stuff, so it's fun. Yep. It's fun. And I love that's
powerful.
It really is powerful. And it just gave, the social audio was so important. And the thing that I loved what people would say all the time, like I was a podcast listener before, like I loved podcasts. I always listened to my books on audio. My listeners know I'm dyslexic. So I hate like reading is like painful for me. So I'd listen to everything, but you can also really connect with people through their voices. Even if you can't see them, video brings it to a whole different aspect. But when you can hear someone's voice, you can find out what excites them, what doesn't excite them, if they're nervous. You really can find out so much about someone's voice that I just became even more curious. Like, okay, this is great. So then I would have people say, okay, well, how do you know that you wanted that person? Like, how did you know their story? And I'm like, well, I would always get a little snippet, but sometimes I would even vet people through Clubhouse. I'd be like, hey, we can just open a room. I just need to make sure our energies match because I think if you work with someone that's a completely different energy than you, I know for myself, if I have a slow talker, it's really hard for me.
Yes, I agree.
It's painful. It's so painful.
I agree.
And nothing against slow talkers, nothing against you slow talkers, but it's hard for me to interview them. My interviews go very different because in my head, I'm like, oh my God, just get to the point. It's just different. So I love that that's where you kind of, sharpened your teeth and then it started continuing. So take us a little bit about after you're doing the coaching, like when, with the Instagram, did you go right into Instagram or did you find as you continue to grow, what I can actually help people really with the reels? Cause then I know like reels really took off and it was like reels are what you need to do. So when did that part of your business come into it?
Yeah. So that's a great question. It's amazing because I don't really take time to reflect on my journey until like I have conversations like this.
Right. And that's what I love doing this.
And it amazes me because I'm still like technically a baby in the industry because I've only been coaching for 2 years, but I'm so confident in what I do, and just I have so many results from people that I've worked with that like I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And I'm still learning. That's the beautiful part. Like there's so much to learn. That's
Well,
why
we all are, right?
yeah, the space of social media is so vast in knowledge and ideas and perspectives, because what we're talking about is, the underlying foundation of creativity, right? Social media allows you to create.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to creating, there is no bounds. There is no right. There is no wrong. There's just differences. And it's about you finding out exactly what your path is, what your creative lane is to thrive and to communicate and to make an impact, right? And of course, if you're doing it for business purposes, to be able to monetize and make money. I wasn't doing reels until I think 2021, towards the end of 2021. I had seen people doing it. I've been watching people doing reels for a few months, but I was reluctant because I had just kind of figured out the flow, the proper mixture of what content to put out, how to design the content, how to engage. And this had nothing to do with video. It was carousels. I was spending an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes,
right,
creating these elaborate carousel posts, that tell a story or give instructions or give you the how-to, and making sure that the graphics were perfectly positioned so that when you swipe left, it's a seamless image going by the screen, so I really spent time on that because I thought it was important. And then figuring out the captions and all that stuff. And then obviously, having a funnel for business generation behind that. I'd finally gotten comfortable. And then you got hashtags. That's a whole nother story. I don't even use hashtags anymore. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But,
right.
And then figuring out that. So I had just figured it out. And then all of a sudden, Instagram is introducing Reels. And I'm like, no. Don't switch this up now. Don't make me have to learn something new now. And I was reluctant for a few months, but I was watching other peers in my space using Reels, and I keep seeing these stories. 10,000 new followers in 7 days, 50,000 new followers in 2 months. And I'm like, what finger was going up? I was like, right. How is this happening? I'm like in denial. I'm like, there's no way you gained 50,000 followers because of one little 15-second video.
Right.
So I was reluctant. And then I just see average people. They're not running a business. They're not trying to make money. They're just trying to have fun. And they're blowing up.
Right.
Tens of thousands of views on their video. Hundreds to thousands of comments. I'm sure tons of saves and shares. And I'm like, all right, now I'm just being stubborn. I need to make the shift. So still reluctantly, I started doing Reels. And it's ironic because I have a background in comedy. I'm sure we'll talk more about how I.
That was my next thing. Yeah. But God,
So I have a background in comedy, like stand-up comedy, doing skits and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm a stranger to video, but I was a stranger to intentionally using video to tell a story, to funnel people into wanting to be a customer or a client, to buy something eventually. When you do comedy, I'm not selling anything. I'm selling you humor for the,
right.
You know what I mean? So I don't have to say, hey, click the bio to get some humor. It's my page is what I do, and follow me if you want more. But, I guess it was just having to switch after spending so much time finally figuring out what works, to find out that no longer is going to work as much. And I have to make a shift. Otherwise I'm going to be left behind. That was what frustrated me, but started doing Reels, and it was very frustrating at first because it's figuring out what buttons to push, understanding the functionality. It's like getting a brand new phone. Remember when we switched from flip phones to iPhones, and it's like you're like, wait a minute. Oh, I used to have to press the number 6 3 times just to get an O. You know what I mean? Now I don't have to, that whole mental adjustment. It took me a while. It literally would take me an hour to produce a 15-second reel because I was trying to figure out what buttons to push. And then after I posted it, crickets, maybe 100 views. Maybe I get 1,000 views, but 5 likes, 20 likes. I wasn't really seeing much, but I also didn't understand. I didn't have any depth in conceptualization, right? How to take a concept, make it relevant to my niche, and also have some type of purpose that's going to drive interest in wanting to follow me, wanting to inquire about business and services. I didn't understand that. So at first I was just doing funny things,
right,
and trying to make it make some type of sense in the world of social media. And it took me some time. Eventually, I developed my skills. I was more efficient at editing and producing without having to spend hours. Then I learned some strategies to produce multiple reels within a short period of time. Then I started getting a better grasp at conceptualization, making things relevant to my niche, but also putting the intention of education, entertainment, or inspiration behind it, figuring out how to use my captions to supplement the value from the reel itself. I learned all these things and I started to see numbers, reach going up, engagement going up, followers going up, more increase in my business. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just focus on teaching people about reels. And of course, I'll still keep the conversation open to talking about other things related to Instagram and growing a brand, if people want to learn those things. But I want to shift to primarily focusing on helping people with reels, building a marketing strategy, a branding strategy, a growth strategy, and a conversion strategy around reels, because this Instagram put out a post in their blog saying, hey, we're shifting from a photo platform to a video platform, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are upset. I'm sure there's some people on here now that are like, I left Instagram because it's not what it used to be. But in the world of social media, in the world of technology, in the world of being on a platform that you don't own, you have to be willing to adjust. Right. You know what I mean? Things are going to change. We don't control the weather, but when the weather changes, our outfits have to change. Right. And you can be stubborn about it. But if you're out in the wintertime below 20 degrees and you're still wearing shorts because you're mad that the summer left, you're going to have some health issues to deal with later on. So you better go get that North Face, those sweatpants and those boots. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that with social media. You'll probably hear me say a lot of analogies because that's just how I.
No, I love it. I love it. And I'm going to pause you for a second because
sure.
I was dying laughing because I totally know how it is. And are you a parent?
Not yet.
Okay. So
I do have a nephew though.
Okay. So that's the other thing I was laughing about, because that's the thing when you have a child and they get through the stage, you're like, oh, I finally got it. And literally within a day, they're in the next stage and you're like, oh my God. Yeah. Okay, now I got to learn this. Yeah. And it's the same thing with business and social media, because it's changing all the algorithms. You always hear the algorithms. Yep. And so I love that you were like stubborn, but then you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. I now have to adjust. Yeah. And but that's also life, right? As you said, the weather, anything is you have to adjust. But there's so many things throwing at us now, right? So many things that we are like, okay, we need to know this. We need to know this. How do we focus on this? And I love that you saw that your audience and your clients can also benefit from this. But it's like, okay, I need to niche down because this is what people need. And that's a gift, because not everyone has that. Some people can be too broad and like, okay, I'm doing so many things. So I do have to say, Dave in the audience, which I was going to call him up and I'm not going to because I'm sure he's at work, but he said, Monty, what advice can you give about convincing a guest who's always busy with her own amazing show to join? Wait, that's for me. Dave, oh my God. Yeah. I know it. Okay.
That's right. Put that pressure on, Dave.
Yeah, Dave. Oh my God, I just read that. I know he's laughing right now.
Put that pressure on.
I know. I promise you, I will be. Guess I will. Okay, then so here's one for real. I'm dying laughing right now. Okay, for either. Any hints on reaching out to guests initially? Yeah, I definitely have some stuff there. Okay, so clients, Monty, when you're reaching out, like, how do you reach out to clients? Dave, I can't wait to damn you because that was funny. When you're first reaching out to new clients. What do you have a system for that you can share top line?
Yeah. Obviously there's levels to it depending on what stage you're at in your business. The highest level is just having like a automated system, right? Where you don't have to be involved. It's a self-sustaining, revolving system that just kind of brings clients in. And that's like, setting up your Calendly. So you have like something for people to schedule calls with you. Then within Calendly, you can set up workflows. You have to pay for the upgraded version. So you set up workflows where you can add a questionnaire. And, if the person answers this question like this, they go here. If they answer the question like this, they go here. And then they can automatically schedule. Then you can, obviously, if you have like digital products, you have a link to the digital product or a link to your physical product, have that in your bio, and create content that addresses the questions, the pain points, the struggles that your audience is going through, but also proves your product, your service, or you to be the person that can bring the solution. And then you give the call to action, right? So at first, when I was reaching out to clients, when I first started Move Makers Consulting, I started off with putting out content first. I didn't automatically, the only people that I automatically reached out to like, pitch on getting my services or letting me coach them were my friends at first, because I didn't have to worry about too many questions. I didn't have to worry about skepticism and all kinds of stuff like that. They already seen what I had done on social media with my fiance, with our food and lifestyle page. So they knew that I knew social media to some degree.
Right.
There's less questions, less friction. So I went to them first directly, text message. Hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. Are you still interested in, becoming that fashion influencer? Hey, are you still interested in becoming that travel influencer? Hey, are you still interested in running that fitness company? Do you want to do it on social media? All right, let me work with you. Let me help you. You know what I mean? So just directly to my friends, phone call, whatever the case is. After that, it was a lot of manual hustle and bustle, right? I had to first put out content, because at first, before I started the company, my content had made some shifts. At first, I was on Instagram just to be on Instagram. I was putting up stupid posts and things that were funny, things that were stupid. And then I ended up shifting to focusing more on, attraction marketing and business related stuff, putting up motivational quotes and videos and captions and stuff like that, because I was doing, I was in network marketing. So I wanted people to take me more serious with my social media. And then I had to make the transition to posting social media educational related content. So before I could even start hitting up a total stranger about becoming a client, I had to have things on my page that justified why I would be a good option for them to make an investment in. So it wasn't immediately go start getting clients. It was, let me build up a collection of valuable, educational, inspirational, and even entertaining content that supports me being a good option for them to consider making an investment in, to get coaching. So I started working on my content, right? What are the most frequently asked questions? What are some things that I see people struggling with? What are some of the most important things that people need to understand? And I created content around those different areas. And once I felt that I had a good enough amount of content for people to do research to see if I knew what I was talking about, then it was going to the comments of those posts and looking at who commented, who was asking more questions, going through the list of likes. I got 100 people that liked it. Let me see what they're doing. Is anybody doing anything business related or influencer related that I can help out? And then I would send them a DM. I would filter out the ones that I think would be good candidates to work with, because I didn't want to work with anybody, but I did need to get the ball rolling because I wanted to make money, and not live off the government forever. So I said, all right, I got to start reaching out to you. So I'd reach out. I had like this pitch that I had formulated, like, hey, my name is Monty. I noticed that you do X, Y, and Z. I love what you got going on. I was just curious to know if there's anything specific that you'd like to learn about social media that you believe would help you get to the next level, right? Something around those lines. And I played around with different versions of it, some a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter, just to kind of see the response I get. And then I started getting some people that were like, yeah, I'm actually interested. I'm open. Like, sure, I'll hop on a phone call. And I was doing everything manually, like literally like pad and pen, basically. All right, cool. What time do you want to jump on the phone? And I go to my calendar and I look, okay, I have these dates available. And they're like, okay, well, that day doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, shit, let me go back to my calendar. And I go back to excuse my language, but I go back to the calendar.
This is fine. Yeah.
Okay. And then I come back. Yeah. And then I come back and I'm like, okay, these are new times. And then they're like, oh, those times don't work for me. Then I'm like, you know what, forget it. When are you available? I'll move everything around to talk to you. And then, I started setting up appointments and doing calls, and I had to work on my pitch and my flow of conversation and the structure of my phone call so that I'm not on the phone for 10 hours answering questions and giving information to somebody who ultimately says, no, thanks, I don't want to work with you. I don't have the money right now, because I was doing that. I was spending an hour and a half. I went from doing 2-hour discovery calls. I started off doing hour to 2-hour discovery calls. Imagine that.
No.
And I would be doing.
I don't want to.
Don't want to imagine. You don't imagine that, right?
It's
right.
terrible.
And some days I'd be doing like 3 to 5 calls. So I'm spending 6 to 8 hours talking to 3 to 5 prospects for, on some occasions, only one of them to be qualified. And then, out of that, from that one person, they're like, hey, well, I won't be ready till next month. So I'm like, all right, I got to figure out how to get this right. First of all, I'm not doing these hour and a half calls. Second of all, I'm not answering every single question because they're basically getting a coaching session for free.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I went through that whole phase, right? Just trying to figure out the structure of everything. But I ended up finding my flow. But I say all that to say, if you're on a low budget where you can invest in automation tools, you have to put yourself in position to be able to filter out who's worth talking to and who's not. Clubhouse helped me out with that because from the rooms that I went into as a guest to the rooms that I hosted myself, it was very easy for me to filter out who was somebody to work with and who wasn't. Because I would literally give verbal call to actions like, hey, if you are somebody who's trying to build a business on Instagram and you're struggling to get followers, you're struggling to create content, you're struggling to get engagement, I want you to DM me this word. And I would have an action word like grow, GROW. DM me grow, and let's hop on a free 10 to 15 minute call to see if I can help you out. Right. So from that point, from that specific call to action, yes, I would have multiple people hitting the follow button on my page because they hear me speaking on Clubhouse. They're following me on Instagram. But then I would have that select number of like 5, 10, sometimes 15, 20 people that were in the room DM me that code word, grow, because they were specifically interested in working with me and getting coached by me, getting into my workshop, doing my webinar. And it helped me streamline the process of being able to pick up clients and pick up, new students that I would work with.
Right.
So I leveraged Clubhouse. Yeah. And then, obviously Instagram too. Put out content, put a call to action. Hey, DM this word if you want to learn more. Hey, DM me this if you want to learn more. Click the link in my bio, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. And I, Dave, I have to say, so I saw Monty's stuff on Instagram, and then I just DM'd you. Hey, do you want to be a guest on my podcast? I can give you more information. And so in the beginning, when I first started, it was Clubhouse that got a lot of my guests. And then I get a lot of people that reach out to me now. I got a lot of, PR agencies. And the way I do it is because as I was talking about, I don't have time to, do the hour calls and all of that. So a lot of times if I need to see someone's video, I do Fridays. I have like a discovery calls. I do 15-minute discovery calls. And that's like where a lot of my businesses, and I send a calendar for that. And then people can do it there. And then if they don't, or if it's like a PR agency that their client, they're trying to do work for their client. And I get that. So I'm like, if you can't get your client on, I need to see like a YouTube video or hear a podcast that they've been on. They always give you a little bio. So I get that sense that that is a good story, but I also need to know if the person's going to be able to tell their story. So that's something that I also teach. I consult people on how to tell their story. Even people that know their story, they love their story, they know how to tell it. If you're doing the podcast circuit, or if you're doing, media, you need to be able to tell your story in many different facets. So you need to tell your 15-minute story versus your 30-minute story versus your hour story. And all of them have to have that meat in it, to be able to get people to connect with you. Because it all, in my world, it's all about the story. When someone tells you their story, you connect on a deeper level, whether even if it's, I'll have guests that will be like, well, my story's not that big, but then they talk about it and I'm like, but the way you expressed it, and everyone has a story. Everyone's story is big in their own because that's who they create, that's how they became who they are. And so that's really important for any of you that are, listening out there or doing what Monty just said as well. It is important to do that. And if you guys are, and I should have said this in the beginning, and I will put this in the show notes, but Monty, you can find him on Instagram, Monty, LANS, and Monty is MONTY. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I need this. This is, I love there's so many people out there, right, that all have different businesses. But when you connect with someone because of their story and you connect with someone with some of their energy, that is one of the reasons why I reached out to Monty, because I was like, you know what? I love what he's doing. There's a story behind this. Like there's 100% a story behind this. And I knew it. So that brings me to my next question, because there's people that are like, I can't do reels because I can't act. Like it's so funny. I've done reels. I mean, a lot of my stuff is my podcast stuff. It's more about my guests than me. I do have my own videos that I put up, but I will always laugh because I will try to do the reels and I can't get I'm always behind on the words. Do you know what I mean? And I'm always like,
I got you. The lip sync, yeah.
oh my God, I cannot lip sync. I mean, it's just not one of my talents. And I'm okay with that. Like I tried and I was like, yeah, you know what? You can try. And I'm sure I could get a little bit better, but no, it's not for me. However, you are spot on. I mean, you're really good. Like I've watched a bunch to be like, does he delay it all? No, he's fucking on every single time. How is he on all the time? So that was my next question, to be like, did you always you had a comedy background. So as you said, you had a little bit of a comedy background, but people are going to be listening. You're like, I have no comedy background or I have no acting. Like you obviously had an interest in that. So it came easier to you, but people can learn to do it. But I want to hear a little bit about this comedy background, because you are very good in your reels. And I laughed out loud. I think a couple of them I saw. And then you have your serious ones where you're really giving a business, which is such a beautiful way that you do it. That's the other thing that really brought me in, because I was like, I got to know you and your funny side, but then I was like, oh wait, these are really good tips. I like this guy. I need to reach out. I want to, have him on the podcast. But so give us a little bit about your, comedy background and where that came from.
Yeah. First of all, like with the brand that I'm building on Instagram, like this is advice that I give to everyone. Like, first of all, you don't have to be a comedian. You don't have to be funny. You don't have to be a dancer. You don't have to be an extremist where you go out and do crazy things to get attention. As long as your content is, valuable in the sense that it entertains, inspires, and educates within the realm of your niche, and impacting people from your target audience in that way, you're fine. Right? You don't have to be the most creative person, but you can use creative elements that present you as a creative person, right? Music is already a creative element. When you add music behind your stuff, you're making your entire reel more creative because you're using a creative element, right? When you have, creative visuals like stock videos, for example, right? This is stuff that's already creative in its nature, and you're just leveraging it to add a more creative touch to your overall reel, right?
Yeah.
Are there things that you might want to adjust a little bit, get outside your comfort zone a little bit so that you can better deliver your value? Sure. Like, for example, you were talking about like people who talk slow or people who are like monotone, right? Well, if you're a slow talker or a monotone person, you have to get efficient at making a few words go far so that you're talking less, your video is shorter, but you're getting a potent message across,
Smart.
right? Someone like yourself, Juliet, someone like, myself, and other people who are like eccentric or just vibrant and very like energetic, we can probably talk for 30 seconds, 60 seconds and keep a crowd attracted because our voice is up and down and excited and engaging and stuff. So it's like, oh man, I can listen. You don't even notice a whole entire 60 seconds going by because you're so captivated by the person's energy. But if you're not that type of person, you got to find a way to make a few words go far. You got to find a way to get your message across in a shorter period of time. And you don't even have to show up on camera all the time to do that, right? You can build a brand around not showing up on camera as long as you're using creative elements and leveraging creative elements that actually do grab people's attention. So, but going back to my history, every single chapter of my journey has led me up to where I am now. And even right now, this might just be a chapter in my novel, not necessarily the rest of the novel, right? But it's amazing because I started off, I've been an athlete my entire life. I went to college. I played college basketball for a D2 school. I had a 4-year scholarship. And I was expected to go overseas. And, my family, my friends, like, they were looking at me like, yo, he's the one, he gonna make it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, I didn't grow up in the hood or anything like that, but I had friends that were from rough neighborhoods, and a lot of people on the basketball team were, from rough neighborhoods, stuff like that, tough circumstances. But, they looked at me as the one that they grew up with that would make it to the next level, go overseas, play professional basketball. Some of my friends thought I was going to, evolve enough to go to the NBA and stuff like that. But I, towards the end of my second half of college, I actually found a passion for acting. I've always been a class clown. I've always been the silly one in my family. But I decided to get into acting as an elective, and I decided to make drama my minor. I was majoring in media studies and communications. I minored in drama, and I got into an acting class. I loved it. And on a random day, one of my friends was running a talent show for the school, and we were talking junk at lunchtime. He was like, yo, you're funny, bro. He was like, you should do a comedy set. And I was like, yeah, throw me on the roster. I'm gonna come on, I'm gonna do some stand up, have everybody laughing. And he actually did it. He added me to the roster and called my name up in the middle of the talent show. And I'm like, oh my God. But thankfully I had like wrote some jokes down just in case or whatever. I didn't know if he was serious or not. And he called me up, and then I went up there and I did a 7-minute set of just random jokes, and people were laughing. My friends were there who were supporting me from the basketball team. They were laughing. And then I didn't think anything of it. But after the show, a random person walked up to me and they were like, you were so good. You know, when is your next show? When can I come see you perform? And I'm like, I need to go find a next show. I don't have a next show. So
right.
I started doing research to find out about like open mics and talent shows. And I did my first show. I had and you know, in the world of comedy, not to go too deep into it, but like they're very big on like attendance. How much attendance can you bring? That plays a major role in how far they'll push you out, how many opportunities they'll give you. So I did a talent show, and it was like a new comic night or something like that. And, you know, you get a certain amount of time based on how many people you bring, right? But you have to bring a minimum of 5 if you want to have like 5 minutes on stage. And I was like, nah, I want to do 10 minutes, you know? And they're like, oh, well, you got to bring more people than 5. And I ended up having like 50 people come to the show, right? And I brought the most people. They made a lot of money off me that night. I didn't get paid nothing. But anyway, you know, I did my set and it was great. And I was confident and I kept going. And then, I mean, I've done a lot of stand up. At one time I was ranked one of the top up and coming comedians in New York, and people had like big things. I've been on MTV. I've done pilots, all kinds of stuff. And then I thought, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be a comedian. I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be the next Eddie Murphy. I'm going to be the next, you know, Richard Pryor, the next Kevin Hart. I'm the next generation up. And then, you know, my passion started to kind of shift away from that. I guess I experienced some things and then saw some things, and I was like, you know what? I don't really know if I want to go this route. And then I got introduced to network marketing. Right. So people went from thinking I'm going to the NBA and overseas to thinking I'm going to be on Comedy Central and the next star. And then I dropped the bomb on them. Hey, I'm going to do network marketing.
Well, you know, but you know, it's so great. And this is what I love. So I was an athlete. I played 2 college sports, and my kids are athletes. My middle son is a basketball player. And what always kind of, whenever I do my shows and I find out later that the person's an athlete, I always go, okay, yeah. Because we have a perseverance, because we know what hard work is, especially when you play at the college level and obviously above. But you have a different mindset when it comes to things. I think it's just something that we're born with. I mean, I was always someone that worked hard in the field. And I was not like, you know, when I went to practice, I hated practice, right? I loved the game. I hated practice. I hated like off season. My sister was always, like, you know, running the miles, and I'd be like, I'm fine. I'll just, you know, deal with it when I get there and be sore for like a week and be huffing and puffing, but I'll do it. And she used to get so pissed. She'd be like, how do you do that? How do you do that? But it's one of those things that I think when you have that mindset and you know what it's like to push yourself, you know, you want to win the game, you want to do that. It is a different mindset, and it gets you through life a little bit of the, you know, the hustle, the grit. You have a grit that not everyone has. I actually had a little bit of a network marketing background as well. So, which I just think is so funny, because that is also a place you learn a lot about coaching, which is amazing.
Oh, yes. And I was saying that to say this, because I don't want to drag it out too long. Everything I've done in the past led me to where I'm at now.
Yes.
Right? Doing basketball taught me leadership. It taught me competition. It taught me responsibility. It taught me putting in the extra hours and working hard, right? Doing comedy taught me how to actually command a crowd, how to communicate effectively, how to deal with scrutiny, how to deal with judgment, right? In the moment. Because when you're on stage and you say a joke and people don't laugh and they're looking you dead in the eyes, it's like, I have to eat this right now and keep the show going. You know what I mean? And then when I did network marketing, it taught me team building. It taught me personal development. It taught me dreaming bigger, vision, affirmation, faith. It taught me all these things. And I apply that to what I do now with coaching and social media, right? You see the comedic side of me. You see that chapter in the content that I create, right? You see the communication and the leadership in the way that I interact with my followers and interact with my community. You see, you know, just the business savviness that I got from network marketing in the way that I conduct business with my social media company, you know. So everything that I've done has led me to where I'm at now. And all those things that I thought were going to be the entire story were just chapters. And
Right.
that's
I
my
love
encouragement
that.
for everybody listening, right? Like if you're at a point where you're considering doing something else and you don't know if you're qualified, like look back at what you've already done and
Yes.
take inventory on the lessons that you've learned that have helped shape the characteristics and the skills and the gifts that you have now. Like we all have a gift. Take your experiences from the past and keep that in mind to give you the confidence to step into that new area of growth, whether you're, starting a brand new company or you're just trying to just start reels and you're not too sure about that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like we all have lessons, we all have skills and wisdom and gifts that we've acquired from our past experiences. And when you realize and remember, like, wow, I had to learn a lot to be good at that. Well, what
Right.
makes me think I don't have the capacity to learn this and get good at this? And if it's important enough to learn it, then there should be nothing that stops you from diving into it, because rarely anybody is great when they start. But if you don't start, you don't have a chance to become great,
I
you
love it.
know?
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
love it. And it's also one of the questions I ask a lot, and that's why I always ask people about their background. And sometimes I'll ask my guest, what they wanted to be when they were little. Because
Mm.
what always is funny is a lot of times there was something in there when you were little, before there was judgment, before people would say, oh, you
Yep.
can't be that, because I think you can be whatever you want. I really
Yep.
truly do. If you put your mind to it, if you dream it and you can make it in your brain, you can do that. So that's always a question I ask, because a lot of times my guests will be like, holy crap, I never thought about that kind of parlaying into what I'm doing now. And sometimes there is
Exactly.
ties. And so I love how you just tied all of that together. I think it's so smart and wonderful. So I would love for you
Yeah.
now to talk to the audience about some of I know you said you had a freebie. We can, tell people. And also
Yeah.
I know Dave said he already DM'd you.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Anybody, DM me if you want to chat more. Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah. So I have a few things, right? A few things. I have you know, uh, a freebie that I offer. It'll be provided in the links that you put up for everybody, Juliet. And the freebie is basically, 100 reel ideas and caption hook ideas, right? So
that's
for
awesome.
those of you who are already established with reels, you've been doing reels, but you struggle with like figuring out ideas or, foundational concepts to create a reel around, there's about 40 of those. And then caption starters, which is extremely important in your ability to impact your audience and actually move your audience into action and sustain their attention. It's like the first line of your caption, right? The first words of your caption really have a major influence or impact on whether or not people are going to read your entire caption, because most people don't read captions. But if that first line
Right.
is powerful or engaging enough, they will read it. So there's like 60 caption hook ideas in the freebie. So you'll get a link. You can download that. You'll get that immediately. And the other two things is I just released a course. It's called the Realest Course. I did that. I released it last month. It's phenomenal. I put all of my life's work, well, the past year and change of doing reels, everything that I've learned, all the heartache, all the frustration, okay,
Right.
all the lessons, tools, skills, everything. I put it into the course. It's there's over 50 lessons in there. I don't know how many hours it equates to, but it's a lot of time. It's a self-paced course, and the information is evergreen. For the most part, 95% of the information is evergreen, no matter what changes take place on Instagram. And when you enroll into the course, you go through it at your own pace. You'll have lifetime access to it. I'll be updating it along the way when there's new strategies or new things. Small investment for the amount of value that you get. And the other thing that I have for people who, let me say this, the course is for pretty much anybody at any level, no matter how much experience you have, unless you already consider yourself a master at Instagram Reels, right? If you feel like you're crushing it, you're getting all the views you could ever ask for, all the followers, all the engagement, all the business from your Reels that you can ever ask for, then the course is not for you. But it has beginner level to advanced level information, tools, strategies, information that'll help you become a master at Reels in your own right. So from the person that's never done a Reel before and doesn't know where to start, to the person who's doing Reels, but they need help with their strategy, they need help with their creativity, that's who the Realest Course is for. And the link is in my bio. There's a sale going on for that if you want to check it out. And the other thing that I have going on for people who are confident with their skills with Reels, but they don't have time to do all the research, don't have a hard time finding trends and ideas, conceptualizing ideas that are relevant to their brand. I have the Realest Club, and that is basically a membership. You get access to a weekly updated list of currently trending audios and ideas curated and put together by me. I literally just released the next list to everybody today, every Monday. So you're basically going to have 28 ideas and trending audios that you can rely on. And the way I design the concepts and the ideas, I make it relevant to whatever niche you're in. There's very few niches that it won't work for, but it'll work for a lot of people. So that you can try that out too. There's like a $1 trial for the first month. That's going to end soon. But if you're somebody who's doing reels, but you're having a hard time with ideas and spending too much time looking for them, that's who it's for. I do all that work for you, make your life a lot easier so you can create more content and serve your audience more consistently. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on. All that stuff is linked in the bio, except the freebie. The freebie you get from Juliet directly, because that's just for this group right here. That's just for everybody listening to this podcast, this interview. Awesome. It's exclusive for you. Okay.
Yeah. And we'll get that out. So that will, and we'll put that in the show notes when this goes out, probably in a week and a half, but Monty and I we'll get there about that. But that's the other thing. You also do coaching, you do group coaching, and then you do one-on-one coaching. Is that correct as well?
Yeah. Yep. Every now and then I'll have a group workshop. I'll probably be doing one of those soon. And I do like group webinars, stuff like that. And and I do one-on-one coaching. So, that's obviously a more personalized setting. Things are customized to the person I'm sitting in front of, giving them strategy, giving ideas, auditing the content that they currently have and helping them tweak the things that support reels and help them perform well. All that stuff, I do that one-on-one too, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so I know you just had to move, so I appreciate you. You're joining. Where did you move? And where
South Carolina.
You did. Good for you. So where did you move from?
So New York. I'm still New York until the day I die. All right. I'm still New York in my heart. All right. My body is in South Carolina. My spirit is in New York.
So I'm in New York, but my husband grew up in the Bronx. I grew up in New Jersey, but we live in New York. And I hear you. You never can leave. So when you cursed, I was like, yeah, I'm Jersey, New York. I mean, I maybe don't look like I curse, but I curse. As my mom always says, I don't know where you came from. She does. But so Monty, thank you so much for joining this and Fireside. It's really fun to have you on. And as I said, whether you guys are on LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, whether you're listening to the replay and you're like, wait, I want that freebie, where it is. Just you'll go to my, any of the podcast players, my website, I am Juliet Hahn. And then also, we'll have some links in here as well. So you guys can see that. But if you guys are new to Fireside also, make sure that you're following both of us. I have some really fun shows this week. I have Ashley Brown, who is the NFL former player and coach, Ray Brown. We also have Jason Pfeiffer going to be on. He's the Entrepreneur Magazine. He also has just written a book. And then Ashley Peterson, who is Adrian Peterson's wife, is also going to be on this month. So if you guys are not following us and following, you will not know about the shows that are coming up. So again, Monty, thank you so much for joining Fireside, and everyone in the audience. We appreciate it. I know you guys learned some stuff, because I definitely learned some stuff. And it is one of those things that I was just talking to someone today before I wrap this up, and it's funny that sometimes people don't ask for help, and I do not have a problem asking for help. Since I'm dyslexic, like when I was in school, I'd be like, nope, I need someone to do this. I know where my strengths and weaknesses are, and I think it's really important when we know our strengths and weaknesses. And if you're building a brand or you want to become an influencer or do something on social media, that's why there's people like Monty out there. And I mean, I don't know, no one cannot have connected with you. Your energy is like so fun. I mean, that's the reason why I was like, I got to get this guy on. I mean, that's what's important, is that he's going to be able to help you. He's going to give you the tools to be able to help. It's one of those things that not everyone is good at social media, and he has done the work. You will see when you go to his Instagram, he has done the work. He has the background, he has the communication background, but then he also has the acting background. He has the sports background, where the hard work. And so you definitely want to reach out to find out if if it's a match. So you guys can find him again on Monty, on his Instagram, which is Monty, Monty Lans, and we'll see you again. And,
Yeah, I hope so. I appreciate you so much. You're awesome.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that hold on. Sorry. I got a telephone call and I was like, oh, damn it. And it like flicked my whole screen off. I always tell people, guests and stuff, if you get a telephone call, don't worry. And then I couldn't figure out how to get it off there. But yeah, no, I'm so glad that we connected and that you were able to join your next stop live on Fireside.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, totally. And listen, the
Screenshot.
music. Yeah.
Screenshot.
You got it?
16. Got it.
But seriously, we should do one where we have you also coming on and teaching and doing a group thing, and you could do lessons like that. That would be really fun. This music sucks as we're leaving.
It's all good.